I am absolutely disgusted with the way that Avery Woods responded to a follower's comment. Because of her response, a lot of people are wondering if she is even ready for reality TV and the backlash that comes from it. This is truly disgusting behavior.
I'm married, but hypothetically speaking, would you hook up with me?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Woo! We got that on film. Thanks for being here.
Avery Woods is such a self-centered individual. After today, I think I'm going to have to unfollow her, and I really like her. But after today, after I seen the podcast episode that she just dropped today, out of like all days, she could have chose to drop this episode any other day, but she chose today.
My mom's feel me on this, but my son has my heart and my soul. I obviously am obsessed with Stevie Lee. She is just the greatest little girl in the world. But my whole life, I always wanted to be a boy mom.
I never do stuff like this, and I don't even know if I'll post this, but I don't know what happened to the world where people feel the need to leave literally the nasty comments.
Am I the only person that is still hung up on the fact that when everything happened to Emily Kaiser, before she even posted anything or anything was even confirmed, like within days, Avery Woods posted that video that had the trig necklace, and it was like, she never did vlogs, but then coincidentally she put on this trig necklace and did a full like minute and a half video.
The internet has a clear favorite type of influencer. They also present themselves as just like everyone else. These influencers show us their everyday lives, including their messy rooms, their clothes that need washing, and even their tough or sad moments. They want their followers to believe that they are ordinary people like you and I, and they are not glamorous celebrities. This approach works well for a while because it creates a feeling of friendship, you know. They don't want to seem distant or perfect. They feel real and relatable because they share parts of their lives that are not polished or staged. However, over time, this image can just start to shift. It might be subtle at first, but the messy moments just begin to look rehearsed, as if they've been carefully planned to appear spontaneous. Emotional posts, they happen on a very fixed schedule, and honestly just starts to feel very forced. And instead of sharing real feelings, it seems like they're just creating content to keep their audience engaged. Even their way of interacting with their fans changes. Try being an influencer for a day. You get the gist. They want only praise and try to avoid criticism. And when someone points out fault, they often dismiss it by calling the person a hater, or they dox them. And that brings us to Avery Woods. Take Avery Woods as an example. Avery is a content creator and a podcast host, soon to appear on a reality TV show. She's American and she was born in 1995. She has a massive following on TikTok with over 2.8 million fans or supporters. Her podcast Cheers with Avery Woods adds to her platform. But every story goes beyond just numbers. She used to work as a nurse and she started making videos to share her life. Those videos brought her a lot of money, so much so that even her husband had to quit his job to work with her. Avery is a wife, a mother, and a friend, a person that many people liked at first. Yet lately, Avery has become known as the most toxic boy mom influencer online.
My mom's feel me on this, but my son has my heart and my soul. I obviously am obsessed with Stevie Lee. She is just the greatest little girl in the world. But my whole life, I always wanted to be a boy mom.
This shows how quickly public opinion can turn. The internet does not forget easily.
Some of you guys are just now figuring out that Avery Woods is a horrible person. It took this. I knew she was a horrible person the moment she came on this internet and was like, I was meant to be a boy mom. There's just something about being a boy mom. That other kid I have, the girl, she's okay, yeah. But my son, I was just meant to be a boy mom. He's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Behind her videos and posts, there is an ongoing, less visible conversation about child exploitation. People have growing concerns about how Avery involves her children in her content, although now it's changed, and the reason people say it's changed is due more to moving to a new location rather than the fact that she just wants to stop exploiting her children on social media. We would expand on that later. Hopefully I remember. But the conversation on the tongue of so many people is how she exploits her children. They question whether she uses her kids too much for views and criticizes some of the things that she says or promotes. Some even say that she doesn't come across as a normal person anymore. Avery's controversies have piled up. There was a joke about Jesus that upset so many people, especially Christians, and she made a comment about C-sections that also sparked immense criticism. Apparently, she called her vagina pristine, even though she did not say the word vagina, but we'll get to that. Like, girl. There was a problem also involving a neck case, which we would expand on, and even accusations concerning a college student. Each controversy added fuel to the fire. Now, many people are angry with Avery and don't want her on the upcoming reality TV show Mormon Wives. A petition was started to have her removed from the cast. The conversation has moved beyond whether people like Avery or not. It's now about clearer issues, how influencers handles their family, what lines shouldn't be crossed, and what responsibilities comes with being an influencer. People are questioning what is acceptable when influencers share their lives so publicly. This story is not just about Avery Woods. It's about all influencers who ask for our trust by showing themselves as real people. When they mess up or do questionable things, followers often feel disappointed or they feel like they have been deceived. So let's look at Avery Woods closely. Let's examine her rise to fame, her success, the controversies that she has faced, and the reasons why she has become such a divisive figure. This is the story of Avery Woods. I'm going to speak about everything, the good, the bad, and the moments that we cannot simply overlook. But that being said, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Jewel, and on this channel I speak about whatever I want to speak about, whether they're trendy or not. I do deep dives, commentary, unscripted commentary, makeup and commentary. So if that is your cup of tea and you'd like to see me next time, kindly like, share, and subscribe if you care. And I really do hope you care. Okay, so that being said, today we're speaking about Avery Woods, and this script is gonna be long. This script is actually very long, but hopefully I edit it in a very shorter way. But oh my god, sorry there was no video last week. I don't know if you guys can hear from my voice. My voice is literally gone, and like I said in my last video, I passed out. I just needed the break, and it's not like I even had break. I literally spring cleaned my entire apartment. I cleaned everything down to the clothes I no longer wear and clean the store. So like, but the thing is, I've rested as much as I could compared to the other times where I've not been able to rest. So that literally has helped me. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for the love on my last videos. I'm so sorry that I did not post last week. I just could not ignore my health. Like, even my voice was gone. Anyways guys, thank you so much. That being said, let's get straight into this video because we have a lot to talk about. Okay, so kindly like, share, subscribe, please. Let's reach the 100,000 subscribers, and please share this video if you care, and I really do hope you care. That being said, let's get straight into this video. Part 1, the origin story. Before Avery Woods became known as an influencer, she was a nurse, and this part of her background is important because it just helps to explain why so many people connected with her in the beginning. For a long time before she had millions of followers or sponsored posts, she was focused on caring for others and working in one of the most demanding jobs out there. And if you watched her old videos, you'll see her making videos on TikTok, and you'll see like TikTok clips while she's at the hospital. As someone who lives in the UK, I rarely see nurses doing that kind of content at work. From what I know, nurses in the UK don't usually post videos from hospital floors. I don't know if there's a law surrounding that. Most likely, yeah, the GDPR law. I don't think they're allowed to do that, because even when I was working in the NHS, I was not working on the hospital floor, but your phone had to be in your pocket except you went into the office. But again, minus hospitals, even in schools, teachers often aren't allowed to have phones in classes. They have to keep them in lockers or at the principal's office and only use them time during breaks or if they are going home. So seeing someone making TikToks in a hospital just feels unusual to me anytime I see it on social media, and it seems like something that is much more common in America because it's mostly American TikTok and Instagram that I see that on. So can someone just explain to me how it's done, especially because of the HIPAA laws and all of that? But that was just a side note. And again, I'm not saying that it never happens in the UK, just that I see it less than how I see it in America. Does that make sense? Anyways, let's go back to Avery. Avery didn't become a nurse by accident. She had said that she wanted to be a nurse since she was like a toddler. There is a home video that she said where her dad recorded her when she was 2 years old, and Avery confidently said that she wanted to be a nurse, like she wanted to work in healthcare.
And I wanted to be a nurse since I was 2. There's home videos of me telling my dad I wanted to be a nurse when I was 2 years old because I was obsessed with ER shows and like any sort of medical show on TV.
Unlike many childhood dreams people forget as they get older, her stuck with her. Like me, when I was younger, I said I wanted to be a medical doctor. Yo, I am scared of needle. I'm scared of blood. I'm scared of anything that has to do with the hospital. I don't know how the fuck I was going to become a medical doctor. This is me being a full-time YouTuber. Oh my god. But anyway, she finished nursing school in 2017 when she was about 22, and she started working immediately in one of the hardest areas of medicine, which is the pediatric intensive care unit, or the PICU. So when it comes to the PICU is a very tough place to work. Avery spent years caring for critically ill children from newborns up to teenagers. And many of these kids, they faced very serious situations. Some were in bad car accidents, others had been abused, and there were trauma cases that involved things like gunshot wounds or emergencies that are emotionally tough to handle. And on top of that, she worked as a SWAT nurse, which means that she helped out in different departments in the pediatric hospital whenever extra help was needed. One of my friends, Jade, she works in a children's hospital as a pediatric nurse, and the work she puts in there is like literally no joke. Like when a child dies, especially a child that she's like hands-on on or she's personally taking care of, when the child dies, it literally affects her and everything. So like I can just imagine like working with children because children are so vulnerable. So working with them, you experience all these type of things like trauma, accidents, them being sick. So obviously being that kind of nurse, oh my god, like you could go to work happy but you could come back like literally crying. There's even a point that everyone's mentioned that she walked about 16,000 steps during a single 12.5-hour shift when she was 9 months pregnant. But why are you working when you're 9 months pregnant? That's crazy. Oh my god, like it's not easy being a mom if I'm being very honest. But anyways, her experience as a nurse just shaped how Avery just showed herself to the world. She wasn't just another influencer looking for fame online, at least not at first. People connected with her because she didn't act perfect. She just came across as someone who had honestly earned what she had. Every social media journey just started while she was still in nursing school. She began posting on Instagram at first when she was about 20 because she noticed nursing was getting a lot of negative attention online, and she just wanted to share a different side, like the good parts of nursing schools and the nursing career.
When I was in nursing school, I saw just a lot of not necessarily negativity, but just I didn't see a lot of positivity when it came to A, nursing school, and B, the nursing field. And then I also saw it in real life. So when I was in nursing school, it was just a lot of negativity of, obviously nursing school is really hard, but the students will talk about it and how hard it is and is it worth it. And then when I got to clinicals, I was like, damn, is this the right career for me? Because every nurse that I shadowed was so negative. And that's partly because they weren't treated right. They still aren't. Like, hospitals do not treat healthcare workers correctly.
At first, her Instagram was private and she only shared simple updates about school and her life without any sign that it would become a big deal. Then there was an unexpected opportunity that came when Cherokee Uniforms, which is a major scrub brand in the US, noticed that every school used their product. They offered her free scrubs if she posted about them, and she said yes right away because she was broke and excited to just get something free. And that small chance just made a big difference because the partnership turned into a paid sponsorship that was worth $500 a month, which was a lot of money for Avery at that time. It helped her pay bills and just gave her a glimpse of a possible future that she hadn't thought about.
I have been a PICU nurse for about 4 years. I worked for the same large corporate company in the pediatric ICU here in Arizona. 2 years before that, I did a step-down PICU unit, so I've been ped/PICU for about 6 years. And I know I'm a good nurse. I've never been 30 seconds late. I've never made a med error. I'm requested by multiple families. I've won Daisy Awards. Like, I know I'm a good nurse. And besides all of those things, I just know in my heart and my soul I'm a good nurse. I know I go above and beyond because it's truly my passion and it's what I love doing more than anything. I have been sharing my nursing journey on social media since I was in nursing school about 7 years ago, when Cherokee discovered me and I started working with Cherokee. That's when my social media started growing, but it was always very authentic. It wasn't, I didn't even know that influencing was a thing or that you could make money from it. I just wanted to be a nurse.
For years, she juggled multiple jobs. She worked in the PICU, she did cosmetic nursing injections, she built her social media presence whenever she could. And making content wasn't her main income, but it was something that she squeezed into an already busy schedule. Then, the pandemic hit and everything just changed again. Like many creators who grew fast during that period, Avery just started sharing more about her daily life, motherhood, and family moments. To her surprise, people really loved that content even more than the nursing post that she was posting. She realized that her followers weren't just interested in her job, they wanted to see the real Avery as a person.
Obviously, it was very trendy on social media to talk about COVID and the pandemic, and then being a full-time nurse obviously got a lot of traction and views. But I think my insecurities really got the best of me because I thought people only followed me because I was a nurse. And it wasn't until I started posting outside of my nursing career that I really started taking off. But I didn't think that people wanted to see that. I thought that they followed me because of my nursing and not because of anything else. But people started asking me questions like, your skin's so clear, what's your skincare routine? And I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me to film a video doing my skincare and link the products on Amazon. Genius. By posting on social media, especially outside of nursing, that gave me a creative outlet. It brought me happiness. It brought me joy. It let me disconnect from my everyday as a nurse, because on your days off, especially during the pandemic, like you're dreaming of vent alarms, you're having nightmares, you're waking up in sweats, like it consumes your life because you see so much tragedy every day. So social media really was my outlet. And then when I started making money on top of it, I was like, whoa, this could really be something.
So the videos that really pushed her into were Day in the Life of a Toddler's Perspective series, like POV. So basically, what she did was she filmed her daughter Stevie Lee and she gave funny, sarcastic narrations in those TikTok AI voices. And these videos were genuinely funny to those who loved her content, and they caught on quickly with a wider audience, including people who didn't have kids. Avery came across as a mom who could laugh at and show the messy, imperfect side of parenting instead of pretending that everything was perfect. That made her feel relatable in a very natural way. Those videos changed her path. Avery said February 2023 was when she knew that her life wouldn't be the same. It was just 1 month that she gained almost 1 million new followers, and sitting at dinner with her husband David, she told him that she thought that their lives had just changed forever. And the thing is, she was right, because by October 2023 she left nursing completely to focus on content creation full-time. Her audience was big enough to support her family financially. Like I said, even her husband retired from law enforcement to work with her. The woman, who once celebrated a small $500 sponsorship, had built a business big enough to replace 2 careers. These are genuinely the kind of success stories that people like me love to hear. But one of the most debated parts of Avery's public life is how she and David met. So, she created a video in 2023. She claims that she knew from the day that David was the one. For Avery, the story is about fate and romance, and she spoke about it. I'm going to put the video here so you guys can watch. My only criticism was her lip filler. Yeah, her lip filler on that video, like I just could not get my eyes off it. I don't like judging people when they do cosmetic surgery sometimes, but like I was like, girl, but because it was 2023, I was like, it just looked so painful. That lip filler looked painful. That was my criticism. It looked painful. I was like this when I was watching it.
Let's get ready for bed together where we talk about how I met my husband. So when I was 18, I worked at Starbucks when I was a freshman in college, and I would get a ton of police officers that would come in. I ended up becoming really close with a few of them who are still now some of my best friends to this day. But I guess David was on their squad and told them like, hey, there's this super cute barista that works at Starbucks. You should go introduce yourself. And David always tells me that he was like, no, I don't go to Starbucks. I go to Dutch Bros. But then finally, after a while, he came and introduced himself, and I didn't know that they had told him to do that. But in walks this 6'5", beautiful man in uniform, and I was like speechless. I didn't even know what to do with myself. So I was at the front register, and I still remember his order to this day, and I gave it to him for free. Sorry, Starbucks. And we literally just like sparked up a conversation, but I just remember it being so natural. I was nervous in the sense of like having butterflies, but I wasn't beside myself. The conversation flowed so naturally, and I remember just looking at him and being like, yeah, you're the man for me. It's actually really funny because one of my fellow coworkers was standing there next to me, and David was like, what are you, like 24, 25? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, no, you're 18. And I was like, because in my head, I'm like, he's not going to want to date somebody as young as me. He was 24 at that point. Obviously, it didn't matter. Anyways, we ended up talking for a really long time. Like, I remember going off to the side of the counter and continuing my conversation with me while I had customers like lined out the door waiting for me. And I was like, hold on, give me a second. I'm talking to the love of my life. Anyways, we ended up talking for a really, really long time. And then he ended up getting a call, so he had to leave. Within probably an hour, he came back. Actually, in my 4-hour shift, he came by 3 times. So I was like, yeah, he's definitely into me. On the last visit that he made in that one shift, I could hear his radio going off, but he didn't want to like leave. And I could tell he was mustering up the courage to ask for my information. And he's like, okay, well, I really have to go to this call. Can I please just get your number? And I was like, I don't know. While I was saying that, I was like printing out receipt paper. It was like, and I ended up writing my phone number on the back. He texted me within 2 minutes probably. So yeah, that's how we met. I literally knew he was the one for me within 20 minutes of meeting him. And I was 18, he was 24. Fast forward, I'm gonna be 28 soon, so almost 10 years later. And I truly believe in the saying, when you know, you know. Because I knew.
But anyways, while to Avery, this video or this, it must have been like a very romantic encounter with her husband David, a lot of other people just saw the story differently. When she shared it, some people questioned why a 24-year-old officer with 2 kids was pursuing an 18-year-old working in customer service. Some people found it uncomfortable that after she even blocked him, he got a new phone number just to reach out again. Many online discussions debated the power dynamic between them, with some people on Reddit even calling it grooming. I would genuinely love to know what you think. What do you think? Because obviously she's officially an adult and all, but after that, what do you guys think? 18, 24, I think that's a 6-year gap. Personally, I would not recommend, but I want to know what you guys think about that. But anyways, I have a thought to process, yeah? Before people jump to defend or criticize, is worth saying that this is just my own personal view, okay? This is my own personal view. You guys should still let me know what you think about the 18 to 24-year-old age gap. Personally, I think it's a lot, right? Because you're 18. But this is something I want to say. Personally, I cannot just imagine getting married that young though. Like, when I was younger, marrying by 24 just seemed mature and adult. But now that I'm older, I see how much people change between their late teens and their mid-20s, and even when they turn like 30s, or even like when they're their late 20s. Those years, they are full of growth. They are full of figuring out who you are and what you want. Science even shows that our brain keeps developing into our mid-20s. Like when you're 25, your frontal lobe, that's when it like fully forms. And personally, I wasn't the same person at 18, 21 or 25. For me, marrying early I would not say it never felt right. Actually, kind of, it never felt right. And I know I owe you guys a coming out story, but I always wanted to marry at 24, and I wanted to have quadruplets because I've never like seen myself like on my wedding, like in my wedding since I was a child. Like, wedding used to give me cold feet. So I just wanted to just do it and be done. I never thought there was a time where I would like own up to my sexuality. I just wanted to also have quadruplets so that I would just give birth at once, even though I did not want to have children. And I just wanted to get married at 24, so I just not have gotten married. Yeah, that was my thought process. So I know I'm crazy because, again, I grew up in like a very Christian home, church every Sunday, midweek service every Wednesday. I was in choir and all of that. So like, I just wanted to do things quickly. I never thought I would be able to come out here and be like, oh, I'm attracted to women. I just wanted to do things quickly, which was very harmful for me. But personally, I'd never like seen myself like getting married, even going to wedding. Like, till now, sometimes I used to get like cold feet, especially because I'm Nigerian and Nigerian weddings are so extravagant, and like it gives me like cold feet. So like, even seeing myself myself being the center of attention there. Like when I used to picture it when I was younger, I used to like overthink it and I just wanted it to be done. And I was like, I have to get married before I'm 24. But that is like so harmful. And growing up and just knowing myself, I'm like, that is like a very harmful thing. And thank God that I just became who I am and just embodied myself and just accepted my sexuality, and I'm just living my life how I want to. And like, thank God, like I'm not like just fussed about getting married. There are people that want to get married, want to have children, and thank God my brain is not wired like that. If I get married, fine. If I don't get married, fine. Again, when I said that thing, I'm like, Drew, hopefully, hope in the end, like when you're old, you not regret it. But like, that's how I've always been. I don't think I would regret it because that's genuinely how I feel. But we've sidetracked. Let's just go back to the topic at hand. But please tell me what you think. Like, I really want to know how getting married, especially because like she was 18 when she met this guy, and obviously she was born 95, I was born 96, so I'm 30 years, so she'll most likely be like 31 if she's not yet 31, and she's like either 31 or about to be 31. And being with someone since you're 18 to 31, that means this is the only person that you have known. Like, you've not had the time to like grow, to develop into yourself, to know what you like, to just embrace yourself. Even that's the same way I even feel for Beyonce, because I think Beyonce met Jay-Z allegedly when she was 19, and I was like, she's not had the time to explore herself without depending on someone or codepending with another person. And that is something that I don't know. That's why I do not advocate for early marriage, especially when it comes to like women and girls, because you're still learning who you are, you're still developing yourself. So that's just something that like literally fascinated me. So please let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. Maybe I'm like bro. I think there's an African country, I think it's Tanzania, where they have banished women from getting married before their age 30. I can't remember the country. Please, if you know the country, I know it's an African country, they just did it this year. If you're less than 30, you cannot get married, except like maybe you have acquired something for yourself. And I think that is the way it should be. Like, we have put this social clock on women to get married, calling biological clock. That's why science exists. Like, you can freeze your eggs, I know like freezing egg is expensive, but we've put this timestamp on everything when it comes to like how women should live, biological clock, age clock, this, that. And personally, think I'm not even someone who is fussed about having children and all of that. But I would just really love to know what you guys think, because I'm so sorry I'm just dipping on this, but it's something that I just could not get off my head. But let's continue. But like I said, I wasn't the same person at 18, 21 or 25, and for me, marrying early just never felt right. And again, that doesn't mean that if you marry early it cannot work for others. Plenty of couples marry young and they have like long happy lives together. Some cultures or beliefs also encourage early marriage, and that's their choice. I'm just saying that if someone had told 18-year-old me that my future husband would be a 24-year-old divorced cop with 2 kids, I probably would have laughed, blocked him, and just kept him blocked. Yeah. This part of every story matters because it just highlights a pattern in her public life. The same stories she tells to show love and success are often the ones that people use to question her. Depending on who is listening to her, these details can sound either heartwarming or uncomfortable. This ongoing tension between appearances and what people really think seems to follow Avery through almost every stage of her career. Yes, she got married when she was 21, which I think is still too young. Oh my gosh, like I think it's still too young. But it seems like it's working for her, and if she likes it, I love it. I love it for her. But that brings us to part 2, the rise of a mommy influencer brand. Avery Woods began her journey as a nurse who shared funny videos about the ups and downs of being a mom. Between 2023 and 2024, she grew into one of the most popular parenting personalities that we have on TikTok. She was no longer just a nurse that was posting online. She had millions of followers. People were following her daily life on the platform. People loved watching her because she didn't try to look perfect. She made a clear choice in how she wanted to present herself. At that time, a lot of moms in the media appeared flawless, always having perfect houses, fun outings with their children, and they look amazing. Remember, that was literally the time of the beige mom epidemic and pandemic, that people were like showing their perfect houses, their children's houses being grey and brown and creme brulee, and that pandemic was just a lot. Avery stood out by being honest about the difficulties of motherhood. She openly admitted admitted feeling tired and overwhelmed, even joking about it. And instead of pretending to have everything figured out, she showed the chaotic part of being a mom. Her sarcasm and just her ability to poke fun at herself just made her videos feel real and very relatable. This authenticity made people to connect with Avery very deeply. Her content just captured everyday moments like the routine of getting ready in the morning, her running errands, spending the day at a lake, all set against a simple neighborhood backdrop in Arizona that many people could recognize. Even as her popularity grew, she just kept showing herself as a regular person. For many moms, Avery was a refreshing change because she did not sugarcoat motherhood or make it feel like, oh, motherhood is a very easy and simple thing. Instead, she made it very clear that being a mom could be funny, it could be messy, it could be something that could frustrate you, and that was perfectly okay. It's easy to see why Avery Woods became so well liked. Like when I was watching her videos, I was like, okay, you can see why people liked her. But when you look closer, her rise is more complex than just her own videos. And here comes her daughter, Stevie Lee. Stevie Lee played a big role in boosting Avery's popularity. One of Avery's popular series was Day in the Life of a Toddler's Perspective, and this heavily featured her daughter Stevie Lee. It featured her activities with Avery during playful voiceovers, and this clip struck a chord not only with parents who recognized the experiences, but also with people without kids who just found these videos very entertaining. Currently, she's deleted the whole playlist, but other people have reposted it, so I would not advise you go and watch it because, again, like, they're children. Like, children do not need to be on social media. Today, the Prime Minister of UK has announced that people below the age of 16 are not going to be on social media. They've been banned from social media, and people between 16 and 18 will be heavily regulated or restricted in some social media thing, which I think is nice. They interviewed one girl and she said she's going to face the wall.
Earlier we looked at screen time. What was your screen time over the weekend?
9 hours.
9 hours. So suddenly you're going to have a lot more time to fill. And what will you do?
Stare at a wall.
Stare at a wall. Okay.
Which I think is nice. Like, children do not need to be on social media. For someone who is so liberal, I stand by that. Stevie Lee became a kind of star on her own, with viewers following her growth. Avery just kept shaping what people saw by controlling the content that she shared. This relationship between Avery and Stevie Lee just makes things very complicated, especially when we discuss family influencers. Avery didn't become famous through nursing stories or beauty tips. It was mainly her daughter's presence in her videos that quickly drew in so many followers. Stevie Lee became part of Avery's brand, whether people openly acknowledged it or not. That raises questions about using kids in online content. Some think that family influencers exploit their children for money, while others just believe that parents should share whatever they want since they know their kids best. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It's likely that Avery Woods didn't start, posting videos with the goal of using her daughter for financial gain. Many parents enjoy just sharing funny or meaningful moments with their kids on social media because these posts, they naturally get attention. That attention often leads to more followers and opportunities. But even with good intentions, ethical questions will always arise. Kids do not fully understand what it means to have millions of people just watching them, or that what is online stays forever online. They can't really consent to being part of a public business. That doesn't mean that all parents sharing their kids online are taking advantage, but it's also fair to understand or to wonder where these boundaries should be drawn. When it comes to putting your children online, personally, I do not advocate for it, but then I understand that people that put it to celebrate milestones, but the people I have so much problem with are people who put it mainly for exploitation, like Nika Diwa, we spoke about her 3 or 4 videos ago. Nika Diwa, Ren, Eleanor, even the couple that returned an adopted child, Daddy of 5. There's a time where exploiting your children was literally the thing that you would do. And also those YouTubers, I've forgotten his name, the one that his wife divorced him because he was always cheating. Ace, I think his name is Ace, whatever, I can't remember. But anyways, let's go back to Avery. As Avery's popularity grew, she just took new steps in her career. In October 2023, she launched a podcast called Cheers with Avery Woods, and the podcast featured interviews, humors, and just honest conversations that just let people who support her just hear more of her personality. And the podcast slowly gained an audience, and by January 2025, it became part of Alex Cooper's Unwell Network. This Unwell Network is a platform that is known for its shows, and I'm sure people know Alex Cooper. I think she's the one that does Hey Daddy. Is it Your Daddy's Podcast or something like that? Give me a second. Let me check that. Let me confirm. Call Her Daddy. Sorry, I said Hey Daddy. Call Her Daddy. So basically, Avery Woods podcast just became part of that umbrella of Alex Cooper's Unwell platform. But anyways, this move just shows that the industry professionals just saw potential in Avery beyond just social media. But joining a bigger media network also brought new challenges. Her show included guest appearances and in-person interviews. So Avery just had to move her family from Arizona to California. This made sense for her growing career, but it also marked a shift from her earlier, simpler content. Ironically, the podcast that helped expand Avery's reach also sparked controversies. Unlike short videos, which can be carefully edited to show only what influencers want, podcasts are longer and much more spontaneous. This meant that Avery sometimes said things that didn't sit well with all her listeners, making her more open to criticisms as her visibility increased. By 2024, Avery Woods had made deals with brands like Dips Beauty and Adidas, and her estimated net worth reached around $5 million. This was a very huge change, especially from where she was when she mentioned that she was making $500 monthly from a sponsorship. This has made such a very huge difference, yo. If there's anything you should get out of this, is like keep on chasing your goals. Like, I know sometimes it may look like it's a small distance, but if you just keep being consistent, I promise you, like, you would like reach heights that you never ever thought that you would ever reach, honestly speaking. But anyways, her financial success just grew alongside her fame, reflecting a significant shift in her lifestyle and also her opportunities. In March 2025, Avery sold her house in Arizona for $950,000, and then she moved to California searching for a new home that was priced around $3.3 million. But if you're worth $5 million, why are you getting a home for $3.3 million? I don't know, yo. I don't think that sounds like a wise financial decision, but I'm not in her pocket, so I literally don't know. But stories like this just show why people just find influencers' journeys so compelling. You know, fans like watching someone start from modest beginnings and reach high levels of success. Every story just fits this whole narrative very well. At the same time, this level of success just complicates her image. Her content often talked about struggles and being grateful for small wins, which made her feel relatable to many followers. But as people observed the changes in her life, questions just always kept coming up. Some argued that the broke version of Avery Woods was just an act, while others have said that people were simply envious when influencers made money. Personally, I'm proud of anyone who puts in work and makes money and just gets the reward out of what they've worked for. I don't think anyone wants to put in work to not receive a reward. I don't think anybody is putting in work not to receive a reward. You want to see that what you've put in work for has actually come to actualization. Is what you do with your success after that will just tell the kind of person you are. Hopefully that makes sense. That is when I'm like, what you do with your success after just tells the kind of person you are. Are you going to be a very rude bitch because you made this amount of money, or are you just going to, you know, I don't know. But anyways, but these both points that people have said, they just have some truth, because people enjoy stories about underdogs who have worked hard and changed their lives. And when that same person just starts buying multi-million-dollar homes, it becomes harder to maintain the image of being an everyday person. So there are people that are so rich, but they become rich and become so out of touch. But look at someone like Rihanna. Rihanna is a fucking billionaire, but sometimes she just like should I say she acts humble? Yes, I feel like she's still humble. She still keeps the same amount of friends. I don't think she acts out of touch, and I don't think she's pretending. She's genuinely Rihanna. She's genuinely who she is. Like, she's not looking down. She does not look down on people. You could still see that she has that humble element to her. So basically, that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody wants to put in so much work without reaping the benefits of like their struggles, but it's what you do with the money after that just tells the story. But anyways, or tells who you are as a person. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, that doesn't mean that Avery's character has changed, but her life no longer resembles that of most of her fans. This is a common knowledge or a common challenge for influencers in general. What made fans connect to them was their ordinary, down-to-earth nature. Success often puts people or put influencers in a different world, and it makes their fans fans wonder if they are still seeing someone who truly understands their struggles or just someone that is trying to convince them that everything is the same. Yo, I feel like with me there will be signs, you know, when I reach a level of like success. I will not say anything, but literally there will be signs. There will be signs. I'm so sorry. But anyways, for Avery Woods, just balancing that distance between being relatable and living a much more extraordinary life became very difficult. As people noticed more about her choices and lifestyle, the criticisms that she received just kept on increasing. The woman who gained followers by just being just like everyone else found that people who watch her are less forgiving when they begin to doubt the authenticity behind the image that you portray online. And that brings us to part 3, a chronological breakdown of her controversies. Up until now, first of all, let me say this is like literally the biggest subsection on this video, just as big as my earring. OGs will remember this. OGs are gonna remember this earring. I used to like eat it down in 2023, 2024, and I was like, let me just wear it for the nostalgia. But anyways, let's go to part 3. Up until now, most of the criticism surrounding Avery Woods had mostly stayed within smaller corners of the internet and is being away from widespread attention. When I say smaller corners of the internet, I want you guys to know that I'm mostly referring to Reddit snack pages like LA influencer snack. She's very much discussed on there a lot, even though she only recently moved to LA. But we all know that snack pages discuss almost all influencers, whether they live in LA or not. Anyway, like I stated earlier, she came across as someone that was easy to connect with and pretty very entertaining. And the controversies either hadn't reached a larger audience yet or were being dismissed by many as people being too harsh towards influencers. However, when you look back through her timeline more closely, it becomes clear that the concerns about Avery didn't just pop up suddenly. People have been raising the same questions and pointing out the same issues for years. What changed over time was that enough people just started paying attention and making these concerns impossible to ignore any longer. One of the first major controversies centered on something that many people just found disturbing, and that's the mix of adult content with posts featuring her children. Back in 2022 and continuing into 2023, some smaller online groups had started talking about how Avery was openly promoting her OF account on the very same social media platform where she shared videos and pictures of her toddler children. So basically, I only saw one Reddit post about this, and that post was archived. But the Google preview, before you click on the link, just showed it as a Reddit discussion under the R90-Day Fiancé Uncensored subreddit. I don't actually think that she has an OF account or has ever had an OF account, especially because the discussion itself had been archived. So allegedly, and that's the only one I saw it on. But I watched Leo Hansel's video on Avery, and in that video she mentioned the indirect sexualization of Avery's daughter Stevie Lee. For example, there was another TikTok creator who spoke about the sexual exploitation that Avery was indirectly subjecting her daughter to. So she mentioned the video of Stevie Lee just licking whipped cream off her fingertips, and that video reportedly got over 400 saves. Like, what the actual hell?
When Avery would post concerning videos, for example, there was a video she posted of her daughter eating whipped cream off her fingertips, and that video specifically got over 400,000 saves. People started to notice the thousands of saves, the thousands of shares on videos of her daughter, and would persistently be in the comment section asking her to be more careful with her daughter and the creeps on the internet.
Issue with mommy influencers. They've done this so many times. They will have a very adorable daughter or son and then make the excuse that they are putting them in content because they're so cute and we're having fun and brand deals, affiliate links, and then they never ever protect these children from the creeps that live on the internet. We all remember there's like a couple things we learn in school. Don't get into a random van and don't meet up with creeps on the internet. There are always creeps on the internet.
One of the most concerning videos that Avery posted of her daughter was also during like this telephone trend on TikTok a few years ago. I'm hardly on TikTok. I just go on TikTok when I'm doing my research, but like I'm hardly on TikTok, honestly. So basically this telephone trend it happened like a few years ago. So basically this was where her daughter was literally sitting in front of the camera with her lower half pointed towards the camera, and her daughter appears to be sitting on a counter with Avery just standing behind her, and Avery grabs her daughter's legs and uses her foot as a telephone, and the caption read, "She's not as flexible as she used to be." And one of the scariest comments on that video was from someone who wrote pre-order, and you all know what that means.
One of the most concerning videos that Avery posted of her daughter was to a telephone trend a few few years ago on TikTok where her daughter is sitting in front of the camera like this with her lower half pointed to the camera. Her daughter seems to be on a counter and Avery's standing behind her, and she grabs her daughter's leg and uses her foot as a telephone, and in the caption it reads, "She's not as flexible as she used to be." One of the scariest comments on that video was someone who commented, "Pre-order."
But yeah, like that was so crazy. But I don't think she had an OF, if that makes sense. But like on Reddit, posts can get archived, and when posts are archived, you can see them when you type in on Google. But if you click on it, you would not see the original post, but you can still see comments from some people. And some people, their argument was like, adults have the right to do sex works. Moms can be sexual beings, and having an OF doesn't automatically make someone a bad parent. The real problem wasn't that Avery allegedly had an OF account. Like I keep saying, I don't think she had an OF account. I do not think she had an OF account. It was how there appeared to be no clear separation between adult content and family content on her TikTok. If she had an OF account, can someone let me know? Because it's only one source that I saw that, and I don't know. Like sometimes you see something on Google, like on Reddit, and when you click it, they're talking about somebody else, and it's only on that I saw that. So please, can someone confirm for me if she has an OF account? I don't think she did, because I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't think she did. I don't think she has no reason to have an OF account. But again, like, can someone confirm that for me? But I'm just going to put a screenshot of what I saw so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, but back to her TikTok, people are like, oh, she's promoting like explicit materials, and the same TikTok account where she's like promoting not really explicit material, but some of the things that she speaks are kind of like sexual. They're like, oh, you're promoting that, but you're also like showing your children on that same account. So one moment you will come across like sexual discussions, and then the next you'd see like a very cute toddler clips.
I didn't even give myself a chance to like think about it. I honestly can't think of anything I dread. Like sometimes anal can be kind of annoying because I feel like mentally I have to be in the moment and like relax, because obviously it's not comfortable at first, but then you guys know I end up loving it, and you know, that's like one of my favorite things. But it's just like, if I like had a long day or I am exhausted from work or with the kids, like that's not something I want to do. I want something to be easy and like not put a lot of effort in, if that makes sense. My fave every time is definitely David going down on me. I feel like most females would say that.
Obviously, this has been like a very huge topic of discussion on Reddit, especially in relation to this issue. So many people have said that it was disturbing to just see, you know, her just speaking about like sexual things, and then next thing you're just seeing like pictures of her children just existing side by side on the same page. And this discomfort is easy to understand too, because when you step away from the internet debates and the tribal arguments about whether criticism is really just slut shaming, the core concern is just pretty clear. Why would these audiences, why would these people who watch you overlap at all? People advocating for internet safety have emphasized the need to protect your child's digital footprint, and they've warned about what happens when adult content and family life mix on the same platform. Social media algorithms don't understand context, they only show engagement. So if someone follows you for your adult content, they might end up seeing your kids, and if they are following family content, they might stumble into explicit posts that was meant for adults. So I don't know, I just keep going on and on about this, but like whether Avery addressed these concerns openly or it just seriously remains unclear. But what I have noticed when it comes to Avery Woods is that when a backlash just gets too intense, she just quietly deletes the post. So for example, there's a video she created about being a toxic boy mom. We'll speak more into that later on, and that video was deleted after she received so much criticism. And what is very certain is that the criticism, when she gets this, they really do not go away. So she let me know she had an OF, because I could not get that certified. Okay, thank you. The next controversy was even something that was much more intense, because it wasn't just about internet safety, it was about how Avery talked about her own daughter Stevie. As the toddler POV videos gained popularity, people began looking at them much more critically. At first, people just found this series like very funny, a tired mom joking about the chaos of raising a toddler through harmless sarcasm. But over time, more people just started questioning things that felt disturbing. Avery joked about Stevie's body in ways that some people would find uncomfortable. She talked about shoving her fat rolls into a tiny bikini. She commented on Stevie's stomach and joked about having cankles. And if this had been among adults, it might have been written off as a mean humor that just fell flat. But Stevie was a toddler, which changed the conversation entirely. Some people, when they watch, they're like, oh my god, like this just feels wrong to, like, you know, hear a parent just publicly make comments about a 2-year-old body in front of millions of strangers. It's very possible that Avery just saw her comments as harmless and just a typical parenting joke. But the problem is that the internet is not private, and the people who watch you, they are not just family around a dinner table. These are millions of strangers online. There are concerns that have also arisen, or concerns have also what am I saying? Concerns they've risen. Concerns they have I really don't know how to speak English again. Concerns also arose about how Stevie was being filmed, and videos showed her in bikinis at pools with certain clips focusing on the lower half of her body. And there's one video that showed Stevie from behind, and this reportedly had around 4,000 saves, and that raised like serious questions and serious alarm bells. It's very fair to start asking a very chilling question: who was saving those videos? Like, you know, many of the accounts interacting with the content just appeared to belong to adult men. Some of those men, some of those men, what's wrong with me today? Some of those men, they have made inappropriate comments about Stevie's appearance, and this is a toddler. People urged Avery to rethink what she was posting. They repeatedly warned her by highlighting the demographics of those people that were bookmarking the videos. And they also, you know, compared the situation to Ren Eleanor's controversy, where, I don't know, I have a video on Ren Eleanor. So basically, she's this child influencer, and there was a time that her content was attracting like so many adult men, and her mom was just like posting her in these provocative ways. So people were like, remember Ren Eleanor's controversy where this child influencer's content attracted like troubling attention from adult men? And obviously, as time was going on, I think like Avery just kept posting, and the more she kept posting her daughter, like the frustration just increased, because even though she would eventually remove these mini videos, many people just felt like she didn't remove them quick enough when she was warned, and she just removed them when the backlash just got too much. So like I said, eventually the entire toddler POV playlist just vanished. But many people felt that it was a little too late. This is one of those situations where people want a clear villain and a clear victim, but reality isn't that simple. It's impossible to say what Avery's intentions were, but I would assume, okay, that is because those videos were still making her money and she did not want to take them off the internet. Did she genuinely not understand the seriousness of the warnings? She's an adult. I'm sure she literally understood it. Or did she just underestimate the risk because her content had become essential to her success? You all should answer that question, please. But what I would say is this: there is absolutely no excuse under the sun for exploiting your child on the internet, especially for financial gain. Still, if thousands of people are telling you over and over that your child's content is attracting the wrong kind of attention online, I think it deserves immediate reflection. Whether you believe those people are exaggerating, or whether you believe that they are being dramatic, or whether you believe that your intentions are pure, safety should come first. When it comes to promoting children, it's better to err on the side of caution. And then came a controversy that added even much more fuel to the fire, making concerns about Avery's public statement about her children even much more intense. This time, there was very little room for misunderstanding. So in February 2024, Avery posted a video that earned her the label Toxic Boy Mom, and this is a reputation that she has struggled to shake ever since. So my very first commentary video was the Toxic Boy Moms of TikTok, and I was like literally so forced to sit down and just like watch myself just speak again. And I was like, oh my god, there's so much difference between when I was speaking then and me speaking now. It is very essential to recognize that this kind of behavior also have impact on sons. While these sons may receive extra attention, extra care, it can also result in a distorted view of relationships and entitlement. There's like literally so much difference. Then I was like so shy of the camera. I can remember like when I finished writing that script, I now like sat down and oh my god, I was talking like so slow. Oh my my god. I can't believe how much I've grown in like 2 years. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for like just always like showing up. That was my very first commentary video and I got like my first 5k subscribers in a week. So thank you guys so much. Honestly speaking, like I love you guys so much. But anyways, in February 2024, Avery posted a TikTok that earned her the label Toxic Boy Mom. And this is a reputation, like I said, that she has struggled to shake ever since. The video was filmed in her car after she received school photos of her son Ziggy. So I've not really mentioned her son Ziggy, I've mostly mentioned like Stevie Lee, which is her daughter. So basically it started off sounding emotional and heartfelt. She talked about how much she loves Stevie Lee, saying that she was the greatest little girl. Then she said that she had always wanted to be a boy mom and she was very overjoyed when she found out that she was pregnant with Ziggy. And then she was showing his photos. She kind of cried and said that her son had her heart and soul. And obviously the backlash was very immediate because even though Avery insisted that she loves Stevie, many people felt that the message beneath her words was very unmistakable. If your son was your heart and soul, what does that have to say about your daughter?
My boy moms feel me on this, but my son has my heart and my soul. I obviously am obsessed with Stevie Lee. She is just the greatest little girl in the world. But my whole life, I always wanted to be a boy mom. And I remember when I found out I was pregnant with him and I was just ecstatic because I was such a tomboy growing up. Anyways, the whole point of me making this video is I had to share his preschool photo with you because when I tell you I opened up this email and I just hysterically cried. He is just everything. First of all, let me show you his photo from last year because the difference 1 year makes, my heart is crushed. Okay, this is last year. He is just, I just want to squeeze him. He's so cute. Also, fun fact, I forgot it was picture day and I sent him to school in like a beach tank top. So his guns were showing, no big deal. But let me show you this year. I have no words. The sweater, the ears, the sideways smile, his hair. I am so obsessed with this child. The arms. Oh my god, he kills me. The old man grandpa knit sweater with the little dress pants. He is too much. Anyways, that's all I got for today. I just had to share that because I have been staring at that photo all day long. Squeeze your babies. Time truly flies by. I don't know how he's going to be 6 this year and going into kindergarten. I can't talk about it or else I'll cry.
The term toxic boy mom describes mothers who places their sons on pedestal and become emotionally over-invested in them, sometimes unconsciously implying that daughters don't hold the same status within the family. And I remember when I was like researching for that toxic boy mom, I was like triggered a lot. I also spoke about like I have like 5 brothers and like literally as when I was younger I hated my brothers because my mom was so obsessed with my brothers. Like it was literally so bad. And it was like they never did any wrong in her eyes and everything was always on Jewel. And just having that toxic boy mom dynamic as someone who has lived in it is literally not funny. I had to go to therapy for it because it affects you after you've grown up. Like after you've left that environment, it just affects you. So whether Avery meant to send that message or not, that's how many people just interpreted it. The criticism only deepened once people just looked at the bigger picture. Stevie was a child featured throughout Avery's content. The first million of people like recognize Stevie is her daughter. So she has put Stevie on social media. Everybody knows Stevie. Her image is what helped build the career that Avery has now that is supporting the entire family. Yet, here was Avery publicly saying that Ziggy, her son, held a special place in her heart that no one else could quite reach. The daughter who contributed so much to her mother's success was often the target of jokes about her body, while the son received emotional speeches about being her whole heart, her heart and soul. People also pointed out another detail. David, Avery's partner, has 2 older daughters from a previous marriage, which again, 24, and he was divorced. I'm not gonna lie, I think I would have seen that as a red flag when it comes to like marrying you. I would have said with 2 children. I don't know. I don't know the dynamic behind their divorce, but when I saw that, like within my research, I was like, that was like so young. That's like very young, but again, I don't like talking on people's like marriages Like, I really don't like talking about people's marriages or like their family dynamic. I really don't. I have boundaries when it comes to like what I speak about. So, but like my own personal conviction, I feel like if someone that was 24 approached me and has 2 children and he wants to marry me and he's been divorced, I don't think I'll entertain that kind of person, if I'm being very honest. But anyways, let's continue. So like I said, David, Avery's partner, has 2 older daughters from a previous marriage. While Avery has mentioned them on like occasion, people that followed them closely noticed that these girls often stayed out of families' online presence. People questioned this selective visibility and wondered what message it sent, both publicly and privately. There could be innocent explanations for this. Perhaps the older girls chose to, stay out of the spotlight, or their mother have rules around social media privacy. And blended families often have like different reasons for keeping some children off public accounts. But because Avery had already been accused of favoring her son, people also like interpreted these absences through a critical lens. Personally, I don't think it's something that we should question because Avery is not their mom. Maybe their mom was like, I don't want my children to be on your social media. You could use that with your own children, but I don't want my children. I want my children to have their own lives. But people ask these questions, especially on Reddit. So I just thought I should just say that. The comments on the now deleted video showed just how deeply this struck a nerve, because again, when it comes to toxic boy moms, like, oh my god, I have even lived with one. Like, what am I saying? I have lived with one. Oh my god, I lived with one in 2024. It was not funny. Oh, it was not funny. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I feel like talking about it just triggers me. It literally triggers me. Oh my god. Jewel, you have suffered. You have suffered. But anyways, the video that she has now deleted, one person wrote, "My mom was a boy mom and in therapy and he's not. Hope this helps girly." Another person said she's going to see this one day. Honestly, that last comment just, to me, I think it just stands out most because the internet has changed what it means to be a parent in public. Years ago, a parent might say something thoughtless in a stressful moment and regret it later, and their child might never know. But now these moments can be recorded, they can be saved, they can be shared, and they can be replayed forever. And even if you deleted it, there's someone out there that has saved it or has reposted it, especially if you're an influencer. Stevie might never watch these videos. Maybe she won't even care, or maybe one day she'll understand exactly what her mother meant. Maybe she'll come across strangers online debating whether her mom loved her brother more, or she might even hear millions discussing jokes made about her toddler body. She might realize that some of the most personal conversations about her childhood happened before she was even old enough to even understand them. That's what makes this whole controversy so uncomfortable. They're not just about Avery Wood. They push us to ask bigger questions about family influencers as a whole. When does oversharing, or when does sharing become oversharing? When do relatable moments become exploitation? And if children grow up with their entire lives online, who gets to decide whether the trade-off was worth it? Anyways, if the toxic boy mom controversy damaged Avery's reputation among many parents, the next controversy pushed criticism of her into a much larger and more mainstream space. Ironically, it happened through something that was supposed to elevate her career, and that is her podcast. So basically, on February 10th, 2025, Avery released an episode of Cheers with Avery Woods featuring Harry Jowsey. So the episode was titled Mommy Mayhem, and anyone familiar with Harry knows that he's hardly someone who clutches his pearls. His public persona revolves around sexual humor, pushing boundaries, and being provocative. I didn't know him till I was researching this, and I kind of stalked him or looked into him a bit, and that was the vibe that I got. So people certainly weren't expecting him to be the one who appeared uncomfortable. But listeners quickly began, commenting that even Harry seemed awkward during certain parts of the episode, which only amplified the attention that he actually did receive. The backlash didn't stem from a single moment. Instead, it unfolded in layers. First, people criticized Avery's overall dynamic with Harry. Some felt that she came across as flirtatious in a way that didn't land particularly well. She repeatedly invited him to comment on her appearance. She joked about what might happen between them if she weren't married.
I'm married, but hypothetically speaking, would you hook up with me?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Woo! We got that on film.
Thanks for being here.
And she made remarks that for some people, like literally clearly crossed boundaries considering how openly she speaks about her marriage online. Not everyone agreed with that interpretation. Some people dismissed it as harmless banter between two adults that were just hosting an entertainment podcast. Playful teasing isn't exactly unusual within the podcast industry. You know, I don't think anything should surprise us anymore when it comes to podcasts, but other people, however, like they just felt that it wasn't about one isolated joke. It was the repetition, the awkwardness, the impression that Harry himself didn't always know how to respond. And that's where the secondhand embarrassment just, came in. Like, then the episodes reached the moment that eclipsed everything else. During a discussion about online hate, Harry mentioned people who quoted Bible verses in their bios while simultaneously sending cruel messages to strangers online. At one point, he joked that Jesus would spank them if they kept behaving that way. And Avery responded with a joke about Jesus that involved sexual violence.
This is fucking bullshit. And I'm like, but then in your bio, it's like Psalms 369, blessed mommy of 4.
Yeah, like Jesus is going to spank you, lady, if you keep it up.
Yeah, literally, he's going to bend you over and fuck your ass. Jesus is gonna go poo pirate on your ass if you keep up this bullshit.
And I hope he does. Jesus.
They deserve it with no lube.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And obviously the remarks were graphic and it was like literally everywhere on TikTok almost immediately, and people were not finding it funny, especially like Christians. And the backlash was like very swift. Like it was, I felt like people really came for her because like there were like so many YouTube videos about her, like so many commentary videos, like literally. So for many Christians, this comment was like a very disrespectful thing. Like they felt deeply disrespectful towards a central figure of the faith of Christianity. But criticism wasn't limited to religious people or religious audiences, because plenty of people who were not even religious experienced like similar discomfort. Personally, I am not religious, but like I respect all religion. That is what I do. Last week or 2 weeks ago, give me a second, we spoke about how Shay Forever has just gone downhill into this whole Christianity rabbit hole, and she even like came for Muslims, saying she does not respect any other religion that is not Christian. And I'm like, girl, like trying to be assistant Jesus is not gonna take you anywhere, okay? But anyways, like I respect all religion. Like there was a chance that you as a Christian could have been born in Bangladesh. Like the fact you were born in America does not mean that if God did not want to place you in North Korea, you wouldn't have been there. And like North Korea, I don't even think they even have a religion, okay? So you have to respect everybody's religion because that's what they know. And just like you are swearing up and down for Christianity, that's how they are swearing up and down to be Muslims. There are things in the Muslim religion that I do not agree with, but I respect it because again, that is what they know, that's what they were indoctrinated with. Just like Christianity, there are things I don't agree with, but I respect it because again, I don't agree with it because I'm a logical thinker. I have so many questions that I have to ask, and there's some things that don't sit right to me when it comes to organized religion, but it does not mean that I'm going to disrespect the religion. I'm not going to disrespect the religion because of what? Because I was not born into that religion. That's not how I was raised. My dad's best friend before he died was a Muslim, so I was taught to always respect people's religion despite who I was born into. But anyways, some people argue that they were Christian or not. They were like, see, this has reflected a wider issue with the humor that people put out on the internet, where shock value just becomes mistaken for comedy and creators act surprised when people don't even find it funny. And comedy can absolutely be edgy. Personally, I don't really understand comedy. I feel like I always wanted to go to like a comedy club just to see if I can understand comedies. I think there's one that just happened, bros. My camera moved, my battery died. But I think I said, personally, I don't really understand comedy. Some I do, some it takes me like a long time to process. Even when someone says something that is funny, I don't get it then until later. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what you meant. Yeah, literally, like sometimes some information that takes me some time to like literally process. But again, like I don't really understand comedy, but like comedy can absolutely be edgy, but people also get to decide when something stops feeling edgy or starts feeling like careless or gross or like a very unnecessary statement for you to say. Then another comment just sparked criticism for an entire entirely different reason. So basically, during the same episode, Avery stated that because she had delivered both of her children via C-section, her body remained pristine. And many women, like, they reacted immediately. Some mothers who had vaginal birth interpreted the comments as implying that their bodies were somehow ruined while hers wasn't, even if that wasn't Avery's intention, which I don't think that wasn't her intention, because again, this is one thing that we should get learned for, because people believe, even when I was young, I heard that, oh, like, people from like Asian countries have like smaller reproductive parts compared to like people from African countries, and like women from African countries had bigger reproductive parts than women from Asian countries, and all these are stereotypes, like all these are stereotypical, because again, you cannot speak about like someone's vagina. Like, everybody has different sizes of vagina, and as someone who has been in a few of them, like, everybody's size of vagina is different. But you know, the good thing about vagina is stretches. That's why you can bring out a child that has a fucking big head out of that, and it still goes back to how it was. So like, literally, as someone who has grown up and like you're older, it's something that you should like educate yourself on. So the fact that you had birth through C-section and someone gave birth vaginally does not mean that your body is more pristine than theirs. Does that make sense? And I'm not gonna lie, that was like very insensitive, and like even many people, like, they also like highlighted how insensitive postpartum body image already is, and how easily comments like that can just reinforce existing insecurities that people have.
I will not be watching The Real Mormon Wives or whatever of Orange County, because I remember 2 days before my planned induction, I think that's what's called induction, like when you plan to have the baby or whatever, and I was giving birth like naturally, at least that's the plan, obviously some things can happen, but I gave birth naturally, and I was sitting there on my phone scrolling, crying as a single mom, because I cried every day, and like a video came up of this influencer on like a podcast or something, saying how she was pristine down there because she had C-sections instead of giving birth like naturally. I hate saying naturally, but you know what I mean, like I can't say that word. And I cried even harder, started crying even harder. Went to my mom, like, I want to cry thinking about it now. Went to my mom, was like, really, like, is this true? Like, no guy's gonna love me, no guy's gonna want to be with me, I'm like messed up, dirty, or whatever down there. That's what this influencer, this really famous influencer said, and she's like a mom influencer and with women audience. And obviously my mom was comforting, was like, no, that's not true, that's not real. But I will never support that woman. I will never ever support that woman, like, because not that it was personal, not that it was anything, but if you have an audience of women and you're that vile and mean and disgusting, I will never watch your content. I will never give you the benefit of the doubt, because that's not something, as a woman, especially grown, she's like old, you know better, you know, it's not like a slip up, like, I didn't mean, I just meant, like, no. And now after giving birth like that and knowing how things work, no, there's no difference. And I would never tell a girl that there was, because there genuinely isn't. Even if I had a C-section, I would be like, oh, I'm not messed up down there, because you're not messed up down there. It's not how it works. And I just remember seeing that, and I didn't even know who she was at first, but then I like started looking at her stuff, I'm like, oh, I don't like her. And now she's like has a reality TV show.
So some people, they defended her, and I'm gonna say like mostly men, and they suggested that she was attempting to joke about misconceptions surrounding childbirth, but simply expressed herself poorly. You should not joke about, even as someone who does not even want to go through that pain, I don't joke about like childbirth. Like, I know it's not easy. I think I have like trauma of when I was 16 years, my cousin that had 2 children then, she told my other cousin who has 2 children now, she forced us, because we were scared, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get pregnant. She literally forced us to watch a woman giving birth, and that has traumatized me, and I will not even joke about it. As someone who do not see myself in that situation, yeah, even my girlfriend has been like, when I'm giving birth, I actually want to be in the room. I'm like, yeah, I want to be in the room. I may faint, but I'm there to hold her hand. Anyways, even though these people like were like saying, okay, her delivery was poor, but like she was being like sarcastic and everything, the broader frustration just kept on persisting, because it felt like Avery repeatedly spoke without fully considering how her words might affect the people that are listening, particularly women, around navigating like complicated like relationships with their bodies. And some of their bodies, we've seen like in all these like red pill podcasts, someone is saying that a woman's vagina is disgusting
because female vaginas are disgusting.
Bro, what's his name? Myron. Bro, just tell us you want to go and suck dick. Like, what do you mean a woman's vagina is disgusting? Just tell us that you like men. Like, but like, there are women who, after they've given birth, their partner no longer finds them attractive, which is very like bullshit, because like, again, like a woman's literally just pushed out another life out of her. Like, the fuck? But anyways, eventually, Avery posted a TikTok apology. She said that she never intended to offend anyone or disrespect anyone's faith. She described Cheers as a comedy podcast and admitted that there were jokes that she shouldn't have made because they crossed a line. She apologized, and specifically for the Jesus comment that she had made. She also stated that the producers had scripted parts of the episode and acknowledged that she should have pushed back or toned things down rather than going along with them.
All right, I just woke up. I didn't want any more time to pass before I sat down and talked about this. I don't usually do videos like this or address whatever hate is going on in my direction, but this is one of those things where I never ever want to offend people and their beliefs, and so I'm just going to talk to you. I just turned my camera on. First of all, I just want to say my podcast is a comedy podcast, and there are jokes that I should not make that cross lines, and I made a joke that crossed a line, and I'm so sorry. I have been very, very open about religion in general. You know, David's father was a pastor, and we've talked very openly on my podcast multiple times about our beliefs and why we believe those things. But I never, ever want to bash religion, bash someone's beliefs. We have so many people in our lives that are religious people and faithful people, and I 100% support them and love them no matter what. There are certain jokes that I should not make, and I regret that wholeheartedly. First of all, I need media training. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I'm just like looking out the window because I just feel awful. I also just want to say, the episode that I did with Harry was scripted. These were questions that were, written by producers, and I probably should have spoken up and maybe dimmed it down a bit, and I chose not to. This is stuff that I have spoken very, very openly about on my social media for years. If you follow me for any sort of time on Instagram, I've done a segment called Saucy Saturday for probably close to 5 years now.
I want to understand the concept of podcasts. Don't they edit? Because most of the things they say on podcast, I'm like, I didn't know edited. Like, didn't you sit down and watch that back and you're like, it's not like a one-man person. Like, the other people there, did someone like bring out something like, oh, I don't think we should put that there? I don't know it's edited. Like, that's one thing I don't know. Like, can someone let me know? But even though she gave this apology, the apology, however, did not satisfy everyone, because many people disliked the explanation involving producers because they felt that it just shifted the responsibility to other people. And other people just argued that framing the issue as, comedy misunderstood the criticism entirely. The problem wasn't simply that the jokes failed. The problem, they argued, was that the subject matter itself just felt very inappropriate. For some people, it wasn't even an isolated mistake. It looks like this is a pattern that they have noticed in Avery. Avery says something controversial, people become upset, she apologizes, the situation settles down, then another controversy emerges, and from there, criticism expanded beyond Avery herself and just began including the Unwell Network by Alex Cooper. So people question whether the network had expanded faster than it could responsibly manage, and whether creators were just being given larger platform without enough oversight or editing or guidance to just prevent moments like this from happening. That's why I asked, and I was like, don't they edit and look back and be like, do you think that we should put that there? That's a genuine question, if I'm being very, very honest. But anyways, eventually the episode was edited to remove the most controversial sections from the podcast. By then though, it hardly mattered because the clip had already spread everywhere and many people had already made up their minds. And to a lot of people, the version of Avery Woods that they thought they knew began to unravel. The funny nurse turned relatable mom influencer suddenly became much harder to define, and that left people with questions that still haven't gone away. Is she genuine but impulsive and prone to say the wrong thing? Is she careless with the platform that she's built and the audience that she has cultivated? Or was a version of Avery people connected with in the beginning never the complete picture in the first place? These questions only grew louder every time another controversy followed. So now, among all the controversies tied to Avery Woods, this one that I'm about to tell you guys about just stands out as the hardest to discuss. And it's not because the facts are unclear or the timeline is confusing, but it's because it's just wrapped up in a family's deep heartbreaking loss. And it's very easy to just sit behind a screen and just, judge decisions when emotions are not involved. But it becomes much tougher to do so when the people at the center of the story are going through possibly the worst pain that any parent can ever face. So basically, for years, Avery and fellow creator Emil Kaiser, they shared what many people believed was, a very genuine friendship. Their relationship went beyond occasional mentions or sponsored posts. They spent time together outside of public events. They frequently appeared in each other's videos and spoke warmly about one another. Their followers bought into this friendship because it felt sincere. Emil was even the second guest on Avery's podcast, which suggested that their bond like literally extended beyond professional networking or convenience, and to so many people their friendship just seemed trustworthy and like very heartwarming. Then in May 2025, everything just took a tragic turn. On May 12, Emil's 3-year-old son Trig was found unconscious in their backyard swimming pool in Chandler, Arizona. He was rushed to Phoenix Children's Hospital where doctors fought to save him, but despite all their efforts, Trig had passed away at age 3, and he passed away just 6 days later on 18th of May. Honestly, losing a child is a kind of pain that few people can imagine, and it's one of the hardest losses to fully grasp. This kind of tragedy just reminds us that beyond everything we see on social media, like beyond the followers, like the sponsorship, the perfectly curated feeds, that these influencers, these online personalities, these people that we do videos on are real people. They are people that are dealing with unimaginable heartbreak. There are people that are dealing with like loss, like with things that they never thought to ever deal with. So after the accident, Avery vanished from social media. Beginning on May 13th, she stopped posting entirely. People who followed her closely just noticed the silence immediately, especially because Avery had built her career on openly sharing the details of her everyday life. Many people connected her absence to what had happened to Emil. Why do I keep saying Emil? Emily, sorry, I apologize. I just realized I keep saying Emil. So what happened to Emily? Others assumed that she was simply taking a break. Either way, people started wondering what might have, happened behind the scenes. Then, on the 2nd of June, when Avery returned, her first post back just looked nothing like her usual content. There was no talking, there was no storytelling, and none of the humor that had become part of her brand. Instead, she uploaded a silent Get Ready With Me video. And what really caught people's attention though was the necklace that she wore. She wore a small silver pendant that was engraved with the name Trig. So when people watched this, like when viewers were watching it, at first it felt like a deeply moving, gesture. Like people were commenting, they were praising Avery for honoring like the memory of her friend's son. Some people even said that the necklace only captured all the grief and love that words couldn't express. And to those watching, it just seemed as though Avery was just publicly mourning a child that she had known and like genuinely cared about.
If your friend lost a family member, would you take off 3 weeks of work for them? No, you wouldn't. As much as you say you would not. Most people take off the afternoon to go to the funeral, and that is it. Avery Woods is back to posting after 3 weeks of not posting, and people are up in her comments like she should have waited to post until Emily started posting again. Guess what? Newsflash, Emily might not ever post again. Okay? She lost her son. She lost her son, and she is a family content creator. She might not ever post again. If I were her, I can't even begin to imagine, but for the sake of this video, I have. Okay? I would focus on my healing, number 1. Number 2, I would focus on my family, or those would be 1 and 2. And then number 3, I would be suing every single news outlet and person that decided to use my story and make things up about it for clicks and views and bites. That is what I would do. That is how I would be financially providing for my family, as opposed to resuming content. So for anybody that wants to be up in Avery Woods' comments, as well as any other content creator that is friends with Emily and is like, it's disrespectful, you should have waited, blah, 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 until Emily Avery Woods is also a business. She is a person that has just experienced tragedy, yes, but she is also a business, and the business does not make any money unless the business is posting. So Avery took off 3 weeks, more than most people ever would or ever could. But herself, as well as all these other content creators, have to resume posting content at some time. Y'all are delirious. You better be motherfucking nice to them in their comments.
At first, most people responded with sympathy, but that sympathy didn't last very long. And by the time that Avery posted the video, Emil had not made any public statements about Trig's death. So obviously, if the mother of the child has not made any public statement about Trig's death, you as the friend of the mother of the child, you're coming to wear a necklace. And yeah, people just was like, yeah, this is very disrespectful, if that makes sense.
Am I the only person that is still hung up on the fact that when everything happened to Emily Kaiser, before she even posted anything or anything was even confirmed, like within days, Avery Woods posted that video that had the trig necklace, and it was like, she never did vlogs, but then coincidentally she put on this trig necklace and did a full like minute and a half video that was a vlog.
There were even reports that surfaced that suggested that Emily, I keep saying Emil, I apologize, that Emily had even taken like legal steps to restrict certain records related to the case from becoming public. She hadn't spoken about her loss, and she had not even like, at that point, she had not like shared her side of the story. So in effect, every video became like the first public confirmation from someone that was very close to Emily that, you know, Trig had died. And suddenly the necklace just took on a very different meaning in the eyes of Avery's followers, basically. So with this, like, the internet was split. For some people, like, it just remained like a beautiful tribute between close friends. But other people like asked like difficult questions. They were like, people literally argued that Avery may have unintentionally taken away Emily's opportunity to share news of her son's death in her own time and in her own way. They questioned whether it was fair for someone else's grief to be displayed publicly because the child's own mother had chosen to say anything, and the criticism quickly intensified. Some people accused Avery of, you know, returning to social media at an incredibly sensitive moment, primarily to just draw attention to herself, and the video accumulated millions of views, and people just started like talking about it. It just had like this whole widespread conversation while Emily just remained silent.
Okay, so I just wanted to address a few things regarding my video about the Avery Woods and Emily Kaiser situation, because y'all got things confused. So let's start with the fact that regardless of any intention she may have had, regardless of her trying to be a good friend and her grieving, whatever the case may be, regardless of any of that, at the end of the day, even if she got approval from Emily, I just feel like anybody genuine, anybody with, you know, common human decency would understand why not speaking on something that the main character of the situation hasn't even spoken on is just common sense. Like the necklace. Yeah, Emily could have told her, go ahead, girl, wear that. And you could have definitely did your video with your necklace covered up. That way you're doing your content. Of course, you got to get paid. You got to provide for your family, but you're still, you know, wearing the necklace because you want to wear the necklace, not because you want anybody to see it. You know what I mean? Her doing the videos and then deleting them. Maybe she realized she was wrong. Maybe Emily said something, or maybe she was just getting a lot of hate comments. The fact of the matter is you posted a video with no words, no dialogue. So of course the comments are going to do the work for you. You made sure to make it exactly a minute, and you wore the necklace with the wings and the child's name. Y'all keep saying she's just trying to be a good friend. Maybe she got approval. Maybe Emily told her she could do it. I wouldn't want to do that. It's just simply put, anything regarding that matter, I would not want to be a part of. Not because I don't want to be a good friend, but when it comes to social media, I'm going to stay out of it because it hasn't even been addressed by the parent yet. Just a respect thing. That's not something that you have to get approval on or not. Like if I was in Avery's shoes and somebody told me, go ahead, girl, like you can post that on mine. Guess what? I'm still not going to do it because it's just not going to sit right in my heart knowing that, okay, out of this major situation that blew up, it's all over TikTok. Nobody has even posted an inch about what's going on. Like that really matters anyways. That's really a part of the situation. True source, you know? So me posting something with the necklace and his name is going to spark conversation. People are going to flood the comments with questions and assumptions. Y'all know how the internet gets. And yes, they'll probably do that anyways, but they're more likely to do it when you're wearing a necklace with the child's name and angel wings. It's almost quite literally like an open invitation. It wasn't the fact that she did it get ready with me. It's the fact that you did it get ready with me with a tank, necklace, clear as day. And a lot of people are saying that they think it's suspicious that she deleted the videos after posting them. People were blaming it on she was getting so much hate and that people probably made her feel like she was wrong. I'm not gonna lie. Me personally, if I knew I had no wrong intentions with that, I'm leaving the video up. If anything, I might turn the comments off because nobody on the internet is going to dictate how I move when it comes to my content if I'm moving genuinely. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all have to stop being so naive. I know that y'all be loving these content creators. I know that some of them be y'all favorite. They're your show. They're what y'all look forward to watching every single day when y'all get home. But at the end of the day, y'all don't know these people. We don't know these people. We don't know who they are behind closed doors. We don't know what they have going on or what their true morals are, what their true standards are. Of course, they're going to get on the internet and just reveal what makes them look good because as long as they look good, their pockets are going to look good. Like, it's not rocket science, y'all. At the end of the day, put yourself in Emily's shoes. If that was your child, you would not want anybody speaking up about it in the slightest bit at all, period, point blank. You would want your child to be resting in peace and just not even really talked about in general. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what intention she had. It doesn't matter what relationship she had. It's not her baby, period. A lot of people are saying, well, what about if Emily never comes back on the media? And Emily doesn't come back on the media and the situation isn't brought up again, period.
Personally, I find this entire situation incredibly complex and difficult to judge because when it comes to grief, I don't think grief follows like a set of rules. It affects everyone differently. Some people completely shut down and become unable to face the outside world after, experiencing loss, and other people only find comfort through publicly sharing their pain. But I also believe that, especially because Emily did not come out to say anything about the death of her son, her even wearing that necklace already is going to call for oh, here am I breaking the family news and let's do this for attention. Okay, it's going to definitely generate skepticism, and people are going to be okay, you're doing this for clout, and that is not something that you would not think is not going to happen, especially because you're an influencer and you have millions of people on your social media. So yeah, when it comes to like speaking about things like especially when you lose your loved ones, in the case of Emily, some families just speak about it like immediately. Others wait weeks, months, or even years before, you know, they are ready to just say their names out loud. Everyone navigates grief differently. And I don't know what Avery and Emily also discussed privately. I don't know whether Emily gave Avery permission before that video even went live. I don't know whether Avery genuinely believed that she was honoring her friend in a way that Emily would appreciate. I don't know whether misunderstandings later caused additional hurt. None of us can say with certainty what actually happened behind closed doors. At the same time, I think it's very possible to hold two truths at once. You can believe Avery's intention was sincere and compassionate while also, you know, recognizing that the outcome may have caused pain. Intentions and impact aren't always the same thing. You can have a good intention, but the impact of the good intention you have can hurt someone. Yeah, you can hurt someone without even ever meaning to. You can cross boundaries that you didn't even know existed. You can genuinely think that you are doing the right thing while unintentionally making an already devastating situation worse. So that's why I said intention and impact are two separate things. That's what makes this controversy feel so different from the others. It's layered with emotional complexity in a way that makes clear judgment nearly impossible. Not long after the video was posted, it disappeared from Avery's account, and followers also noticed that other videos featuring Trix's necklace appeared briefly before being removed. So rather than settling the situation, these deletions only, you know, fueled much more speculations. You know, people who followed both creators closely started noticing subtle shifts in their friendship. The two stopped appearing together. They stopped featuring one another in their content. Followers noticed that Avery had, you know, unfollowed Emily on Instagram while Emily continued following Avery. Reddit spent months just trying to piece together whether their friendship had quietly fallen apart. Like most internet speculations though, we only have fragments of information to work with. Friendship sometimes survives unimaginable tragedies, other times they do not. And when it comes to the concept of grief changes people. It can open or it can expose differences in values or in boundaries or even in personalities that had previously gone unnoticed. There can be misunderstandings, there can be betrayals, there can even be resentment or simply moments where, you know, two people, due to the fact that these two people are grieving, they can no longer relate to one another because tragedy has fundamentally altered their lives. That's why sometimes you see people who have like children, their child have died, the man and the woman can no longer live together and decide to get divorced because of grief. So again, that can also happen in friendship. So basically, whatever happened between Avery and Emily, the friendships that their followers once admired looked very different by early 2026. And around that same period, people also noticed another major shift in Avery's content. She stopped showing her children's faces online. And for years, people had questioned how much exposure Avery gave her children and whether their privacy had been adequately protected. And following Trix's death, many people wondered whether witnessing such an unimaginable loss had caused Avery to reconsider just how public her own children's life had become.
I have pulled back so much. And like I said, I would post 3 to 5 TikTok videos a day. Now I post 1 a day if I do. And so I'm sharing like 30 seconds to maybe 3 minutes of my day edited to what I want the world to see. And my kids didn't need to be a part of that. And so that's why the majority of times that I'm filming and editing, my kids are in school because, you know, they don't need to be my content. They need to be normal kids. And I feel really confident in that decision. And I don't really care what people have to say about it because it's quite funny when, you know, the internet truly is a double-edged sword. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And when I shared my kids online, that was the #1 reason I got hate. Fuck Avery Wood. She monetizes off her kids. She exploits her kids. It's so fucked up. It's child abuse. Now that I don't show my kids, I don't care about you. I don't want to see you. I want to see your kids. I'm unfollowing you because you stopped showing them. What? First of all, bye. You're fucking weird if you're following me just to see my kids. See you later.
Some saw this change as evidence of growth. Perhaps it reflected a mother just, you know, reassessing choices that she had once defended. Sometimes tragedy just, again, like it can force people to rethink what they had previously accepted as harmless. Sometimes it changes priorities in ways that they never anticipated. But not everyone believed that the change went far enough. People also pointed out that even though the children's faces were no longer shown, they remained very much part of the content content. Their voices, the routines, like literally the stories, the presence just continued like attracting people to her channel.
Avery Woods has now decided to not show her children's faces online. This is following a recent post that she's posted on the other app, and she's posted a load of Father's Day photos, and they're all like from the back, and then she's posted one of the 4 kids and she's put love hearts on their faces. Now this, obviously, she's been showing her kids, she's been showing them online for years. We all know when Stevie was a baby, so that's what, 4 years. I think Stevie's 4 now. So for her to now not show their faces after this tragedy with Emily Kaiser's happened, it's got to be to do with that, and it's got to be to do with protecting her children, which I think is a good thing. She's within her rights to do that, and I do think it's to do with the tragedy that's happened. And yeah, I've not seen them on TikTok at all, really.
And the children had become less visible, but they hadn't disappeared from the platform or the business built around it. And these observations sparked a much larger conversation existing beyond Avery herself. If children are helping generate income through social media platforms, should they receive protection similar to child actors? Should there be laws regulating family influencers? Should children whose lives contribute to household income be entitled to compensation, safeguards, and legal protections, even if their faces aren't shown? These questions still don't have, straightforward answers, but as family influencing continues to grow, the urgencies of those conversations grow alongside it. Not personally. So basically, during my research, people argue that part of the reason why Avery stopped showing her children's face on social media is because she moved to LA, and LA takes the child influencer act like very seriously. If your child appears on your content or in your content, you have to set aside a particular amount for your child, like I think 15% from the income you make. And because she's covering her child's face, that means her child, when they grow older, they may not be entitled to have that. So people are saying that is the reason why she's covering her child's face, mainly for financial gain.
Well, sorry, it seems like a lot of people are very sentimental about that, but it turns out that's not actually the reason why, for safety reasons. Actually, it's because Avery and her family moved to California in 2025, and the thing is, California law is stating that any child that is in online content has to have a portion of the funds deposited into a trust fund. California law now requires parents to safeguard their children's online earnings, particularly those of child influencers. Specifically, a new law extends traditionally for child actors to those featured in online content. This means parents must deposit a percentage of their child's gross earnings from online content into a trust account. So basically, a lot of people are thinking that Avery is simply doing this and censoring their faces so that she doesn't have to give them any money, despite featuring them in her content every day. And I think it's also a little bit redundant to now censor their faces when you have posted so much content of them in the past how many years. It is flooded all over the internet. Everybody knows what those kids look like. Avery Woods can't help herself. What's the point of publicly saying you're no longer showing your kids' faces if you're going to exploit them anyway? Barely hiding their faces with drawn-on stars, having their entire bodies in videos, having their faces in videos, using them for affiliate links, and now just straight up having them in ads. She's not protecting them at all. I think that this is a version of making your child work. Like, if I'm being completely honest, and this might be a taboo conversation, you having your children go, can you run in front of the camera 5 more times? Can you actually hold the camera and film me? Can you actually let kids be kids? Like, why are they in this anyway? Nobody should what? She built her whole platform on exploiting and fat shaming her baby daughter too. It was horrible. How does somebody over time, which seemed to be a very normal individual, become this vile?
Literally. But anyways, for Avery, however, the scrutiny surrounding her actions didn't end there. The next controversy wasn't about grief, parenting, or navigating an impossible situation. Instead, it centered on how Avery responded when someone said something that she did not like. And for many people, this incident revealed more about her character than any controversy that came before it. At the time of writing, this is the latest major controversy involving Avery Woods, and honestly, it might be one of the most revealing one. And many of Avery's past controversies were open to debate. People could argue whether a joke simply missed the mark, whether parenting choices were personal, or whether others were reading too much into certain comments. There was always room for disagreement. This situation felt different because it wasn't really about interpretation. It was about how Avery just chose to respond when someone said something that she didn't like. The controversy began shortly after Avery was announced as part of the cast of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, the Orange County, in April 2026. So even that casting decision sparked backlash. Many people questioned why the show was bringing in non-Mormon influencers when it had originally focused on Mormon culture and the unique dynamics within that community. Some people even welcomed the change, believing that it could make the show much more entertaining and expand its appeal. Other people viewed it as yet another example of producers just prioritizing internet fame over authenticity when it comes to shows. And obviously there was so many opinions online, and as these opinions just circulated online, every shared post promoting the new show. Under one Instagram post, there was a college student that commented, "Guys, she had to pay for her new house somehow." And it wasn't a compliment. It was obviously sarcastic and clearly aimed at Avery's reasons for joining reality TV, because first of all, she's not Mormon, and secondly, she does not live in Orange County. What happened next is what transformed this into something much bigger. Avery took a screenshot of the comment and shared it on her Instagram story, including the student's profile and a clear photograph of her face. She captioned it, "Why are the cutest girls always the meanest? Anyways, you're beautiful. Hope you have a better day." On paper, that almost sounds kind. She complimented that girl's appearance and wished her well, but context matters. When you have hundreds of thousands or even millions of followers sharing a private person's profile, it's not neutral, because no matter how politely it's phrased, it directs an enormous amount of attention towards someone who doesn't have the same reach or influence or resources that you have to handle it. The student later messaged Avery saying that she had already gained more than 20 new followers from being featured on every story. Avery responded, "You need help. Blocking you so you don't have to keep coming back to harass me. Wishing you nothing but healing and love." People quickly began questioning whether Avery's action matched the calm, mature image that she seemed to be presenting. Because if the goal was genuinely to protect her peace, why continue engaging at all? Why not simply block the student from the beginning and move on? Then things escalated even further, because Avery reportedly contacted the student's university. Screenshots shared online appeared to show Avery sending a direct message explaining that a student was harassing her on social media. She referenced the university listed in the student's Instagram bio and said that she wanted to alert the school because she doubted that they would want a cyber bully attending their institution. Avery allegedly sent the student a screenshot of that message as well, and added that she had warned the university because they probably didn't want a bully representing them, before signing off with another version of peace and love and healing, you know?
As somebody who's been doxxed on the internet before, what Avery Woods did was foul. Like, foul. Like, you are the influencer, you have the millions of followers, the brand deals, the mansion in California, and you're gonna go after a girl who made a comment that wasn't even that bad, and then try to get her kicked out of her college? Like, that is insane behavior. Like, as an influencer, shouldn't you know that if someone leaves a bad comment to just, I don't know, block and move on? People have, in my comments, said the nastiest, rudest things to me, and I just block them and move on with my day. Like, there is nothing I gain by, like, doxing them or trying to find them and, like, ruin their life like they did to me. I'm not doing that. It's so bizarre. I remember, like, if you know Indie Blue, she's like a Utah influencer. I remember she had this, like, Facebook group, and I was in it. And some of the girls were criticizing her because of her response to, like, BLM and, like, you know, like, the riots and things like that. And there were some girls, like, probably not being the nicest, but some people had, like, fair criticisms. And she doxed every single one of them on her story to her hundreds of thousands of followers and sent all of her minions after them. And I remember after that, like, I unfollowed her, and I've looked at her sideways ever since. Because I just feel like, I understand you're in an emotional moment and you want to feel like vindicated or get some type of justice, but you end up just making yourself look bad because the power dynamic is so off. Like, you have the power as the influencer to ruin their life more than their stupid comments or criticisms will ever ruin yours. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, Avery, you had or have the podcast, and you have the reality show, and you have the money, and you have everything that you want, and you're over 30 years old, and you even have a degree that if the influencing thing doesn't work out, you could fall back on, and you're trying to ruin this girl's life before it even starts because of a comment that you didn't like. That is crazy behavior, and I was going to watch the reality show because I thought it might be interesting, and now I don't know if I want to.
At this point, I genuinely struggle to understand Avery's thought process. If reposting the student's profile had been a hit of the moment reaction, I could at least, you know, understand the emotional aspect of it. Public criticisms can be very exhausting, I'm not even gonna lie. Influencers are human beings too. They get frustrated, like they have bad days, they can snap when they feel attacked. These are people that became popular, so like they literally have blood flowing through their veins so they can feel. Yeah, but I don't agree with that choice, but I can understand how frustration sometimes leads people to, act impulsively. What is much harder for me to understand is everything that happened afterwards. Replying to the student's message was a choice. Seeing the university in the bio was a choice. Writing that message to the university was a choice. Sending it was a choice. Taking a screenshot of it was a choice. Sending that screenshot back to the student was a choice. At every stage of this situation, there was an opportunity to stop. There's an opportunity for you to block, for you to delete, for you to log off. There was an opportunity for you to decide that it simply wasn't worth it. But instead, things continue to escalate, and that's why so many people view this as an overreaction. The original comment was rude, yes, but relatively minor compared to the kind of behavior that public figures deal with every single day online. Attempting to involve someone's university over a sarcastic Instagram remark, honesty, is very excessive. But based solely on the information that has been available publicly, many people just felt that the response did not fit the situation. The backlash was so intense, and people argued that, Avery had weaponized her audience against someone with significantly less power. Other people argued that influencers have every right to defend themselves and shouldn't be expected to tolerate endless negativity simply because they are a public figure. And personally, I think there is some truth to both perspectives. Influencers shouldn't be expected to act as emotionless punching bags for the internet. They are people. Constant criticism, sarcasms, and judgment can take a real toll. At the same time, having a large platform comes with responsibilities that most people do not have. Most people can't direct hundreds of thousands of followers towards another person with a single post. Most people can't potentially trigger real life consequences for someone through the sheer size of their audience. That difference really matters. The controversy eventually inspired a petition against Hulu to reconsider Avery's involvement in the show. The petition referenced not only this incident, but many of her previous controversies as well. Again, that this wasn't about isolated mistakes anymore. It was about a pattern. What makes this conversation particularly interesting is that it raises a much bigger question than whether Avery simply overreacted. It forces us to think about how public figures handle criticism once they stop being universally admired. It's very easy to be kind and to be relatable when everyone is just cheering you on. It's very easy to preach kindness when your comment section is full of compliments. The real test comes when someone embarrasses you, when someone frustrates you, when someone bruises your ego. Do you ignore it, or do you move on? Do you block them to protect your peace, or do you keep pushing until the other person feels just as uncomfortable as you do? For many people watching, Avery's response answered that question in a way that her previous controversies hadn't. The conversation surrounding Avery Wood shifted. It stopped being about whether she had made mistakes, because everyone makes mistakes. Instead, people began asking whether all of these incidents taken together revealed a pattern that had been there all along. And that brings us to Part 4, the reality TV era, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Orange County. By the time Hulu announced Avery Woods as part of the cast for the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Orange County, she had already made a significant impression in the influencer world, although not everyone agreed on what that impression actually was. Some people saw her as, obviously, this hardworking former nurse who had managed to, build a successful life for her family through social media. Other people saw her as they've seen as this influencer that is surrounded by controversies, repeatedly questioning her judgment and the decisions that she makes in life, and also when it comes to people. Either way, she had become someone that people felt strongly about, which is exactly why her casting triggered such an immediate and intense reaction. In April of 2026, Hulu confirmed that they would be expanding the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives franchise to Southern California. The new cast included several well-known influencers such as Aspin Ovard, Bobby Altov, Salome Andrea, Marco DePron, Chandler Higgins, Ashley Pease, Madison Pontempo, and Avery Woods. From a business perspective, the decision made perfect sense. These women already had like established people, they have recognizable face, and they have built-in public interest, all of which helped like attract viewers. In reality, television being familiar to people and even generating controversy often works as an advantage rather than a disadvantage. However, Avery's addition immediately stood out to people of who watches the show and not necessarily for positive reasons. One of the biggest concerns that people raised was fairly straightforward. Avery is not Mormon, and this was not simply internet speculation or a rumor that was created by viewers. Avery herself has spoken openly about it. She has joked about being the only non-Mormon mother shopping at Target in Gilbert, Arizona while wearing a crop top. I'm not going to lie, I actually would think, like when I started researching about her, I actually thought that she was Mormon because, you know, she got married early and all of that, and like we know that the Mormon faith, like they get married like very early. I have a video on the cult of Mormonism, that's what it's called. Literally, I believe that it's a cult, but that is just my personal opinion. But anyways, although she grew up in a conservative Christian household and spent years living in Arizona surrounded by Mormon communities and friendship, she has never claimed to be part of the Mormon faith. For many people, obviously, like this is a distinction. The original appeal of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives was never just about attracting or watching attractive women navigate complicated friendships and interpersonal drama. Reality television already like provides plenty of that. What made the series stand out was its cultural focus. It offered insight into the expectations that were placed on women within the Mormon communities and the tensions between modern life and religious tradition and the ways that faith can influence marriage, motherhood, identity, and relationships. A girl on YouTube, I've watched, like when The Secret Wife of Mormon came, she actually like gave like a breakdown of it. I can't remember her name for the life of me, but I remember, I think that was like 2 years ago, and she did a video on it and I watched it. Give me a second, let me check for her name. Yeah, Call Me Chris, that's the girl, like Call Me Chris. And then also Alicia Grenfell, she is an ex-Mormon person, and when I was researching for my video on like the cult of Mormonism, I literally watched her video, and yeah, I actually did watch it. And also Cruel World, is it Cruel World Happy Mind also spoke about like Secret Wife of Mormon, and that was where like when it came out in real time, that was I was watching commentary on that. So basically that is what I could get from the show. So it's basically Mormon wives just like showing how they balance their life as Mormons with like, you know, being a wife and being a mom and all of that. Obviously because of this, some fans like worried that casting someone who was not actually Mormon would dilute what made the show unique. They feared that producers had become more interested in securing larger influencers with bigger audience than, you know, preserving the authenticity of the original concept of the show. And to these viewers, like allowing anyone who was just simply adjacent to Mormon culture to participate made the title of the show itself feel meaningless, which is true to an extent. At the same time, I do understand that cultural experiences are rarely black and white. Avery may not be Mormon, but she was raised within a conservative Christian environment. She married young at 21 years old, which is common, like I said, in many traditional religious communities, especially in Mormonism. And she has spent years living in Arizona and has openly discussed social circles closely connected to Mormon culture. And when it came to people who support Avery, like they argued that even if she does not personally share the religion, she still has understanding, or she still understands many of the social dynamics and the cultural expectations that the show attempts to portray. Personally, I can understand both sides of the argument. I understand why loyal viewers would want to, you know, protect the identity of a show that they originally loved because it just offered a window into a specific community. And if that cultural perspective was what attracted you in the first place, it makes sense to question whether newer casting choices are moving too far away from the show's original purpose. I literally remember that Hulu partnered with Disney in the UK. Hulu and Disney partnered, but I don't have a Disney account. Yeah, I did, but then I cancelled it. And then when that thing with, what's that his name? When they fired that guy from that network, I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't know if I want to open even though they've reinstated the guy, I actually don't have a Disney account any longer. Yeah, I know Hulu and Disney, but anyways, as I was saying, at the same time, when it comes to reality television has never really prioritized cultural purity above all else. You know, producers cast people who like are controversial. They choose people who have like strong personalities, who react strongly, who would spark debate. At the end of the day, they need audiences, they need clicks, they need people who will speak about the show. So seeing all the controversies that Avery Woods has on social media, at this point, when it comes to entertainment, there's no good or bad publicity. At the end of the day, you're still going to click and watch, and it's going to add to the show's network and add to the revenue that they have invested in the show. Hopefully that makes sense. So whether people adored Avery or could not stand her, one thing remained true: she is going to get people talking, you know. And again, while the show has not yet come out, people are talking about it before it's even out, and that's why people want to watch to see, oh, does she deserve to be in this show? People debated her parenting choices, they've defended her intention, they've criticized her actions, they have argued endlessly about her character. In that sense, she just fits the exact type of reality television casting producers often look for. She was someone capable of making people tune in because they wanted to see what she would do next. There's even reports that have suggested that filming began by the end of April 2026, with production crews reportedly spotted around Orange County only days after the cast announcement. Like I said, I think someone said that she does not even live in Orange County, which again is like, I don't know if she lives in Orange County, I literally don't know, but like Marie said, someone said that she doesn't live in Orange County, so I'm like,
fans are upset that Avery Woods is a part of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Orange County spinoff, not only because she isn't Mormon or the fact that she doesn't even live in Orange County, but mainly due to her past online controversy.
They are just putting her for the clout. That's literally all I can say. And again, she needs to make her money, like, and maybe it's true that she needs to get the house, she needs money to get the house. Please don't sue me. But maybe that's also true. But yeah, this indicated that the decision to cast Avery had been finalized, you know, well before people had the opportunity to react. Regardless of public opinion, the show is still moving forward. Then another controversy involving Avery emerged, and before this point, much of the criticism surrounding her casting centered on whether she was the right fit for the show's concept. People questioned whether Hulu was sacrificing authenticity in favor of influencer fame. However, after the controversy involving the college student, the nature of those questions have changed. And now, like I said, I spoke shortly about like when she criticized the college student. So now that when that happened, people were no longer simply asking whether Avery belonged on the show. Instead, they began questioning whether she was prepared for the level of scrutiny that comes with mainstream television. There is a significant difference between being famous online and being famous through reality television, in my own opinion. On social media, influencers, they maintain a very considerable amount of control over their public image. They decide what gets posted, what gets deleted, and which part of their lives are shared with audiences. Which part of their lives are shared with audiences. They carefully shape the stories that they want people to believe, and reality television operates very differently. This time it's not you, it's literally the editors that determine which moments make it to the final cut. So yeah, producers, they are the ones who shape storylines and decide what people are going to see, what viewers are going to see. Cast members often find themselves involved in public confrontations, whether it's intentional or not, and the audience is larger, is much more diverse, and is often far less forgiving than the communities that influencers have cultivated online. People stop analyzing only your content and they start evaluating your personalities and your relationships, your reactions under pressure, and the way that you navigate conflict. So after the college student incident, many people started wondering whether Avery could genuinely handle that level of exposure. If one sarcastic Instagram comment had escalated into repost or like direct messages and even alleged contact with a university, how would she cope with the criticism and scrutiny that accompany a major Hulu reality series? How? Those concerns eventually translated into actions, because there's this petition on change.org that has begun circulating, and they've asked Hulu and the production team to reconsider Avery's involvement in the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And the petition referenced multiple controversies from her past, including backlash over the podcast remarks, the criticism of her behavior on social media, and yeah, literally every controversy that I've spoken about has been in that, change.org. What stood out to me though was for those signing the petition, this was no longer about like one isolated incident. It was not simply about one comment that crossed the line or one poorly received podcast episode. It was not even about one bad decision. For them, the issue was a pattern. They believed that the controversies collectively pointed towards a larger issue rather than a series of unrelated mistakes. Whether you agree with that interpretation is an entirely different conversation. One of the more uncomfortable realities of internet culture is that people often become trapped within the worst moments of their lives. Once people decide who they think someone is, every future action just becomes filtered through that version of the person. Every mistake becomes evidence supporting pre-existing beliefs. Every apology that someone may put out, it could sound manipulative to your audience. And if you want to give an explanation as to why you did an action, people may see it as an excuse. Sometimes that judgment is justified because people genuinely display repeated behaviors that deserve criticism. Other times, people struggle to accept that human beings are complicated. People make mistakes. They say the wrong things. They react poorly under pressure. They learn, evolve, and sometimes grow beyond previous versions of themselves. And the truth is that none of us actually know Avery Woods. We know the version of Avery Woods that exists online. We know the viral clips, the controversies that she's had, everything. We know everything that she's put online. We know the stories that have been told by people who support her and people who criticize her. Literally, we know what she chooses to share publicly and what she chooses to preserve, repost, and amplify. So while this moment accurately reflects who she is as a complete person, is something only the people closest to her could genuinely answer. We literally really don't know her. So as of June 2026, Hulu had not publicly responded to the petition, and filming reportedly continued as planned. Despite the backlash, Avery remained part of the cast. She's still part of the cast, and I think this is what makes this next chapter of her story particularly very interesting. For years, Avery built her image around relatability. She has built a brand around feeling accessible and familiar. Now she's stepping into an entirely different world. Reality television strips away much of the control that influencers have over their image. It highlights their strengths, but it also exposes their flaws, and it places them in front of people who do not already love them or defend them or even feel personally invested in protecting them. Will Avery emerge from this experience with a stronger reputation, having introduced herself to an entirely new audience, or will the image that she's spent years building begin to unravel under a different kind of spotlight? That remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that Hulu is about to introduce Avery Woods to a much bigger audience than the one that she cultivated online. Conclusion. Stories like Avery Woods capture our attention because they speak to something much bigger than one person making mistakes online. They force us to think about what happens when the version of ourselves that others fall in love with begins to clash with the person we are behind closed doors. What do you guys think about this video? I would really genuinely want to know. But that brings us to the end of this video. Do you think that people, when they post online, do you think that what they show at first is not their true self, but with time they show who they actually are? That is a question that I want to ask. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. This video is so long. I just have so many questions to ask, so many thoughts were running through my head as I was researching Avery. Researching her was quite boring, I'm not going to lie. I slept so many times, but I was at the same time kind of fascinated. Even though it was a bit boring, I was also kind of fascinated. But I just would want to know what you guys think about this whole thing. What do you guys think? That brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much. This video is quite long, I'm not even gonna lie. This video is very long, okay? But But thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate if you made it to the end. Drop a black emoji. And you guys love my hair. I made it myself again. This hair took me 3 freaking days, y'all. It wasn't funny. I don't know who's at me, but here we are, and I am super obsessed with this hair, y'all. I'm so obsessed. I made the hair myself. I'm trying to mimic like micro braids because I'm planning to go back to locking my hair. So in case you guys don't know, I used to lock my hair. My hair was locked before. I've locked my hair like 5 times. I combed them all out, but last year I cut my hair for it to grow, and it's actually grown very quickly, like. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you just like stopping and just like watching my videos out of all the videos out there. So I just want to say thank you guys. This video is so long. I have been postponing a video on Timber Sperry, and at this point I feel like there's no need for me to post a video on that chick any longer, because like this happened since April, and obviously you guys know I've done like intense deep dive. Like I did a deep dive on Miss R Fabulous. That was like literally fucking hell, my phone almost fell. What the hell? That was literally over 3 hours, and minus the fact that my hard drive crashed. Can you guys remember? And I had to recording that video was 5 hours, yeah, and editing the video, everything came up to like 3 hours, even though the first time I edited it was like 5 hours. But anyways, guys, I have been so busy. I just had to take like a week for myself, and I'm so glad that I did that. But guys, do you think I should still post a video on Timber Sperry? Because a few of you have requested that I do if Tyler Catastrophe, yeah, but I don't know if I'm going to post on Tyler Catastrophe. Maybe I'll do like a deep dive, because I wanted to do like an unscripted video of Timber Sperry, but there are other videos that I need to talk about. There are other people that I need to talk about this month, and I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. Well, anyways, guys, that brings us to the end of this video. Did you guys enjoy it? If you guys enjoyed it, kindly leave a red emoji for my blush, because actually this blush is pink. Leave a pink emoji for my blush. Okay, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you. This video is already long, so I'm just going to leave you guys here. Thank you. I really do appreciate and love each and every one of you. Until next time, bye bye.